My name is Jamie Jaswinski. I am with Aire. We manufacture a full line of air curtains, anything from a little drive-through window up to a huge 50 by 50 dock door and everything in between. So we will get started. Dean, let me know if you cannot see my screen. Like I said, I am with Aire. We manufacture a full line of air curtains. We are located in Greenville, Pennsylvania. We're right between Pittsburgh and Erie is where we do all of the manufacturing. We've been around since 1997. I have been with them since 2001 selling air curtains. Just getting into the basic concepts of what is an air curtain. Typically, you are going to see an air curtain over a doorway. Most often, they will operate off of a door switch. So when that door opens, those fans and the blowers are going to activate, and that is how you're getting your wall of air over that opening. That wall of air is going to separate the two environments, ideally keeping that conditioned air inside, also preventing things from the outside from entering, whether it's dust, insects, unconditioned air, fumes, debris. These can be heated units. So in the wintertime, they can produce heat, whether it's electric, hot water, steam. We can also do gas-fired units within the air curtains. So one thing I want to point out, most of the air curtains that we provide will be provided with something that's called a time delay relay. And what that does, once that door closes, the air curtain will remain on. I think it's factory set at 30 seconds, but that is adjustable. Just in case it's a high traffic area, that air curtain will not cycle on and off 1,000 times throughout the day. Okay, so bear with me. I had to dig in the archive to find this video. I think it's 15 or 20 years old. So the quality is not great and the narration was not scripted. But this is a great visualization of how an air curtain works. This is not a normal application like you'd see on an exterior door or a dock door. This is interior separation, but again, it's just a great visualization of the air curtain actually working. So here you can see, I just want you to look at this, the smoke with the full coverage along the whole width of the opening, full protection of that. So again, not great visuals or narration, but again, you can at least see what the air curtain is doing and see what that airflow is doing and how it's really separating those two environments. So getting into the benefits, what value added benefits can air curtains offer you and also your clients? The biggest one, like Dean had mentioned, is energy cost savings. In the northeastern region of the United States, if you have a door that is open 2 hours or more throughout the operating day, you are going to see less than a 2-year payback on the equipment. In addition to energy savings, increasing comfort is huge, whether it's customers or employees. Also another benefit, sanitation, insect control. We use a lot of these for food service applications. Something else that is new is odor abatement assistance, which I'll talk about. People are actually using air curtains to prevent odors from leaving a building or to keeping odors out of the building. It's working both ways. And then finally, the big thing that has been going on for the air curtain industry is better building design. This has to do with the vestibule exception and a great way to reduce construction costs. So I'll touch on all of these briefly. Here you can see saving energy. This is just a CFD design. What you have here is a warm summer day on the outside and an air-conditioned building on the inside. The bottom picture you can see, once that door opens up, that air curtain turns on, provides protection over the doorway, prevents that warm air from coming in, keeps your AC safe, and you don't have to recool that. On the top, same scenario, you just have an open doorway without an air curtain there. After about 5 seconds, you can see the infiltration. Not only does this provide hot spots at the door that can be uncomfortable, also cost a lot of money for your cooling system to recool that air. So you can kind of see here how it would save the energy and cut back on bills. Just a snapshot. Here is a picture of the US. We have tried to cover every climate zone in the US to kind of show you the different cost savings that you would see from using an air curtain. What we're assuming here is just a standard commercial application, 6 foot wide by 7 foot high opening. Inside design temp 70 degrees. Hours per day that door might be open is 4, 7 to 11, and then 7 days a week. And again, this is just taking into account one heating season. There is additional savings during cooling season, but again, this is just heating season. So you can see New York, $4,600, Chicago, $6,500. And just for reference, an average unheated cost for an air curtain, maybe $2,500 for this size. If you add electric heat, $3,500. Average install cost about $1,500. So again, about a 2 heating season return on investment. Now we try to make it really simple. If you wanted to run a certain scenario, you could go to our website and there is this program right here, very easy to use. As you can see, there is heating and cooling. Let's just go through, we did a commercial, so I'm just gonna go through real quickly a larger industrial door. For heating season, let's say the design temp is 68. That door might be open 4 hours throughout the day. Set your time, we'll say 6 to 10, 5 days a week. And then your door dimensions, we're just going to do a standard 16 by 16 dock door. And now I'm going to show you a little bit later how to properly select models, but just for reference, we're going to go ahead with the model that I would go. That's the TSD3. And we just want to make this as wide as the door. We don't need to oversize. So we're just going to give a 16-foot wide unit. United States, we are going to do Boston. Here you can actually go in and alter the cost of gas and electricity. These are just national averages. If you hit calculate savings, it is going to give you the annual cost savings. This is just one heating season. So for that larger door, you're looking at about $12,000. If you were to go to see full report, it is going to give you a 3-page printout with the data that you entered. And then it's going to break it down even further into the average temperatures throughout the the November to March, average high, average low, average wind speed. The climatological information all comes from NOAA. Then it's breaking it down, average temperature throughout the operating day. And then probably what you're most concerned with is the actual equations. All of this is documented from the ASHRAE handbook. So very easy to use. It makes it a little bit easier to justify the air curtain when you can show such a rapid return on the investment. Getting into increasing comfort, here is another CFD design. This is just the opposite. This is a winter day on the outside. You can see with that door open on the left without an air curtain operating, that cold air comes rushing in, floods out the space. It's very expensive to reheat that. Also, imagine you're at a restaurant or a store, maybe a restaurant, and you're sitting at a table right by that door. Chances are you're not going to stay very long if that freezing cold air is constantly coming in. So you put an air curtain there, helps protect your inside air. Customers are likely to stay longer, maybe have another cocktail, have dessert. They're willing to shop longer. So ultimately generating more revenue for the facility in addition to, cutting energy cost. So here's a few little, I guess we could say, case studies for increasing comfort. That picture on the left, this is a coffee shop in Pittsburgh, PA, downtown Pittsburgh. In the winter months, during that morning rush when those doors were constantly opening, the temperature in the back of the store was dropping about 10 degrees. That was a problem, but the biggest problem was that poor cashier that was sitting right to the side of the door. They could not get employees to come in on cold days. They would call off because they knew that they would be so cold. So they put the air curtain there for supplemental heat and to protect the space, but the main objective for that was to get employees to come into work. So that is a heated unit, took care of the infiltration, and the employees were comfortable and they actually showed up. So picture in the center, this is an art gallery in Park City, Utah. The owner insisted on leaving that door open all the time, regardless of what was going on outside. They had that philosophy that an open doorway is going to attract people to come into the gallery. So again, this is a heated unit. They left it running all the time. It provided supplemental heat for the winter months. Also in the summertime, kept their AC in and kept insects out. Picture on the right, this is a coffee shop in Charlotte, North Carolina. They had a problem in the summer with flies coming in through that little pickup window for the coffee. And also with the heat coming in. So they put you can see that little low profile unit up there. That is variable speed, so they could adjust the speed to something that was comfortable that would keep the bugs out and also keep their AC in. Another benefit, sanitation, also insect control. You will often hear air curtains referred to or called fly fans. Same thing as an air curtain, air door, fly fan. When you use them for sanitation, they're going to improve air quality and promote a healthy environment by blocking contaminants. We do have units that are NSF certified. So if you get into work for food service, restaurants, cafeterias, we do have multiple units that can go on different openings of the facility for NSF. You will see that the pictures here, all of these air curtains are mounted outside. For bug control is one of the only 2 reasons we would recommend units for outdoor mount. If you are looking to use an air curtain for climate control, it is actually going to do more harm than good if you put it outside. The reason being, if you put it outside, it's going to pull in that unconditioned outside air. That's what it's going to discharge over the opening for protection. When it hits the floor, it will split, and some of that outside air will be pushed in. So we do not recommend outside mounts for climate control, but they work great for bug control. If you are looking to specify or use an air curtain for outdoor mount, make sure you specify it on the plans or you let the salesperson know. As a standard, they do not come ETL listed for outdoor use. We need to make special modifications to equip them to be good for outside. So make sure you make that note so we can do what we need to do on the inside of those air curtains. Picture on the right, this is the Albertsons flagship store. They have that open eatery outside. They like to leave those garage doors open for flow of traffic, but they did not want flies coming into the store, and they also wanted to protect their conditioned air. So they chose a variable speed so they could find a good balance between insect protection and intrusiveness with noise level and airflow. Just a few other pictures of sanitation. You can see the picture on the left. This is a cafeteria. All of those doors are open and lined with a low profile variable speed unit. Picture next to that is a bar. We're seeing more and more beer gardens and bar areas. They like to leave the windows open. They are using air curtains to protect the space. Bottom picture, this is a drive-through window between Chick-fil-A and McDonald's. We provide thousands of air curtains a year for drive-through windows. And then the picture on the right, just another food service application. All right, getting into odor abatement assistance. This is something that we just got into 2 years ago. We started working with a state-of-the-art odor mitigation and air purification solutions company. And what they do is they provide odor abatement equipment for cannabis grow facilities. So I guess before you can even get a permit to build, you must have some kind of odor abatement program in place, which they have with their pieces of equipment that are very high tech. However, they were still running into problems with faint traces of odor that were still escaping the building. So they're actually putting air curtains on the outside of the building to keep those odors contained. So it's actually protecting the outside from the smells inside. This is different than most applications. As a general rule of thumb, you always want to mount the air curtain on the side you're trying to protect. So let's say you have a vestibule and you are heating that vestibule, you would want to mount the air curtain in the vestibule, separating the vestibule from the exterior. But here, since they are trying to actually protect the outside, they are mounting this on the outside. Now getting into the better building design, I've been doing this job for over 20 years, and every time I talk to engineers, they tell me, we don't really need air curtains, we use a vestibule. Well, what you see so often is just like this picture, both of those doors are wide open. So you essentially are creating a tunnel for whatever you're trying to keep out to come through. So, vestibules, they're inefficient in design and also a poor usage of space. They can also get pretty expensive to build, anywhere from $20,000 and up. And they also take up valuable floor space, especially if you're dealing with retail facility where you need that floor space to sell goods. Another disadvantage, hindering handicap and wheelchair access. And then a lot of vestibules have those push doors. And now, like, the big buzzword is germs and bacteria. And with those push doors, you're increasing touch points. So, increasing chance of cross-contamination of spreading germs. So how can air curtains help you with all of these problems? In 2015, IECC had a code update, and then in 2019, ASHRAE 90.1 followed it up with a standard update that said you can use air curtains to replace vestibules. Now, there's some criteria that must be met to meet these codes and standard updates. First, they must be AMCA certified. They must operate off of a door switch, and you must mount them per the manufacturer's recommendation. So we try to make this very simple. If you were to go to our website, if you go to air curtains, we have a whole line. It's called vestibule exception. And here you can see we have low profile units like the Eve here. You can see unheated electric hot water steam is available. These are exposed mounts. We have a little bit larger casing. The Eve is good up to 12-foot high. A little bit larger unit, the ETA, which is good for up to 14-foot high. And then we even have units you can't really see here, but I have some pictures later of an in-ceiling mounted unit. So you can hide these air curtains in the ceiling, still eliminating the vestibule. So again, using the air curtain, you're going to free up that valuable floor space. We have recently been, well, not recently, the last couple of years have been working with Dollar Tree, Family Dollar. They're eliminating their vestibules and using an air curtain. So they have just freed up that much more floor space to sell treasures. You also have protection every time the door is open. With that vestibule, like the picture previously, both doors were wide open, so there was no protection. If you use an air curtain with that single door, every time that door opens, that air curtain's coming on. So there's protection every time the door is open. Great way to reduce construction cost, which I never thought I would say. You know, the last 15 years, every time I'd follow up on a job, I'd hear so often that the air curtain got value engineered out. I heard it all the time, but now you can actually use air curtains for value engineering. So you can eliminate your $20,000+ vestibule and replace it with a $2,500 to $3,500 air curtain. So great way to save construction cost. Now, we have really been targeting architects, and before this vestibule exception, architects wanted nothing to do with air curtains. They did not like us. But fortunately, they dislike vestibules more than they dislike air curtains. So it has really opened up, and they're so much more receptive to the idea of using air curtains for this vestibule exception. With that in mind, we have really tried focusing on aesthetics, noise reduction, as well as controls. So really trying to make these even more appealing to the architects. With that, aesthetics, we have introduced multiple finishes. We have a nice, shiny, mirrored stainless finish. It looks high-end. It's very reflective. We do a brushed stainless. We also offer white and black as standard. So those are your options for these vestibule exception units. We can also do custom colors, not standard, but we can certainly powder coat any color. Just to give you an idea of some of the finishes here, and these pictures aren't great, but at least you can get somewhat of an idea. This top is that mirrored stainless steel, and then you get into the brushed and then also the white and the black. And again, those are standard. You can choose from those for the vestibule exception units. We also do the low profile units. We do offer that in-ceiling mounting unit that I showed. We have just redesigned that and made it even smaller. I think we should be rolling it out on our website within the next month, but we are now introducing an in-ceiling mount unit that's only 15 inches in height. So be even easier to use up above the ceiling. We've also introduced a rounded case. Before it was beveled edges, but now it's a nice rounded case to choose from. Some people like the rounded look. And also we have a new hot water commercial case like you can see up above. Before it was a little bit more industrial, but we've tried to slim it down a little bit and make it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. So try to give lots of options as far as aesthetics. Here's just some pictures so you have a general idea of all of the options available. The picture on the top left, this is one of our low profile Eve units. To the right of that is that in-ceiling mount unit, just a standard white finish. To the right of that this is a Blue Martini Bar and Grill down in Orlando. And they have their restaurant area, then they like to leave the doors open out to their patios. But they wanted something to protect those openings. So we provided the Chameleon, that in-ceiling mount unit, but they did not want to see it. So they sent us a color sample and we matched the blue so it fit into their ceiling. Picture on the right, this is a Harley dealership in Wisconsin. They wanted Harley orange, which is what you see there. Bottom left, it's not a great picture, but you can kind of see the new rounded case, a little bit more rounded edges. Next to that, I love this picture. I think it looks great. This is some of our low profile units in a glass entryway. And then to the right of that, this is kind of a custom application. They did not want to see any moving parts. So what we did, normally you would have a front air intake pulling air in from the front. They did not want to see that. So we gave them a top air intake. So all you see is this stainless box over their opening. You see no moving parts. And then bottom right, this is just another way to go above the ceiling. This is a standard exposed unit that we would just provide a nozzle extension with to keep that air uniform. So again, just another way to go above the ceiling. We would need a return air intake grill to get air up to that unit. If you're going with that design. And one is not better. This is not better than the in-ceiling mount unit. It's just personal preference. Noise reduction. For the last 20 years, every time I talk to an engineer, I hear, we don't like to use air curtains. They're loud, they're noisy, they mess up women's hair. And sadly, what most manufacturers do that have kind of given us all a bad rep is this picture here on the right. What they do, the way an air curtain is designed, is you have a motor with a double extended shaft, and that's where those blowers are. So they have those blowers pointing directly down out of the nozzle, which is a direct path for the noise. You get a lot of turbulence. You also have dead spots. Where that motor is, you can see down here on the drawing, there's no air coming out of there. So you're going to get a blast of air and then nothing, and then a blast of air. So it's uneven. It's also a lot noisier. What we do, really simple concept, we just shift the blowers to the back of the air curtain. So it creates a plenum effect. The air pressurizes, and then when it's released, it's complete coverage. It is also a lot quieter. Most of our entry door air curtains are 53 dBA on high and 51 on low. So that's a normal conversation level. And then the picture to the right, my marketing guy said, don't include this, but I think it's so important. So a couple of years ago, we started using what we call quiet contactors. Standard contactors, and I didn't realize what a difference these made, but a couple months ago, I was in Cleveland at a coffee shop, and I was sitting there waiting for my coffee. And they had two air curtains. They were not our air curtains, but they were heated air curtains. They looked good. They worked great. Every time the door opened, it was nice warm air coming down, protecting the space. But they used standard contactors, and all I could hear was the clicking. Well, I'll show you. Here's the sound, so you can hear for yourself. And then here's ours. So I never realized what a difference those quiet contactor makes, but that is standard in all of our commercial or vestibule exception. Those quiet contactors are standard. And again, it wasn't even the airflow that was making the noise. It was just that clicking on and off every time the door opened and closed. Sticking with better building design, talking about controls, 99% of the air curtains that we ship leave our plant with some kind of door switch. Sadly, what has become standard in the industry is this picture on the right, which is a roller plunger. It is big, it is bulky. If something's going to break, it's going to be this roller arm. I try to encourage engineers and users, please do not specify this, do not use this. There's so many better options. I typically only deal with these magnetic door switches. They're a little bit more money up front, maybe $75 because they're low voltage. So we have to put a low voltage transformer in the air curtain, but the end result is so much better. Picture on the left is our industrial SM226 door switch. And then in the center is more of the commercial version. Aside from this, there's so many other options for magnetic door switches. There's little wobble switches. We can even do ones that recess into door frames. So please, if you're specifying an air curtain, please specify a magnetic door switch. The end user is going to be so much happier with the final result. Still talking about door switches, how many do you need? This is very important. I get a lot of calls after the air curtains have shipped that, we sold an air curtain for double doors, but there was only one door switch. So the picture on the right, if there are sliding doors, they open together, you only need one door switch. If it's a picture in the center, there's just one roll-up door. Again, just one door switch. But if you have a door like on the left where the doors open independently, they each need their own door switch. So please make sure to specify two door switches for that opening. Still getting into controls, we've recently introduced the Smart Touch. This is essentially one control that does any function you can imagine for the air curtain. If you have heat, it can control the heat. It can do space heater function. You can program the air curtain when you want it to run. If you want it to run certain days of the week through certain hours, can control the speed. Pretty much anything that all of the individual switches could do has now been wrapped into one controller. So this with the door switch would be all that you need, really. In addition to that, some people still like to keep it simple and just give a door switch and a speed switch. So there's many, many options for controls. Space heater function is very popular. What that looks like is if you have a unit with heat and you have it set on space heater function, it is going to turn on low speed per the thermostat when the temperature in the space drops below the set point. If the door should happen to open during that time, it will kick on to high speed per the door switch. We have different speed controls depending on the unit. We have single speed units. That's typically the industrial, like larger industrial units and bug control units. We have 2-speed units. We also get into variable speed. There's decorative switches. The picture on the right is kind of the old, and we still offer this, but it was more of an industrial looking switch. The picture to the left is the decorative switches, blends in a little bit better. We can tie into dry contacts of the building management system. We can even provide backnet controller. So really anything you want in terms of the air curtain, we can provide. Just installation, real quick, I want to touch on this. If I get a call that an air curtain is not working, it's usually one of two things. First, the filters are clogged and they need to clean the intake screen, or second, it is installed improperly. So ideally, as you can see on these two pictures here, that air curtain is going to be as close to the door header as possible. We realize that's not always an option, so there is a rule of thumb that for every inch you go above that door header, you would move the air curtain out away from the door a half an inch. So here is a great example of an improper installation. This was a popcorn stand in Delaware. They wanted to use an air curtain to protect that window, keep insects out, and also to keep their AC in. So we sold them the appropriate air curtain. They called me. Oh, they were so upset with me that this thing does not work. We're watching the flies fly in through the window, and this is drying out our popcorn. So I said, send me a picture of the installation, and this is what I got. So what they did here is you can see the top of the window, and there's maybe a 12-inch transom. They moved that air curtain as close to the ceiling as they could get it. Well, when this air leaves, it leaves on a 6-degree plane. So it was bouncing off of that transom, coming back into the store, not at all covering the window, and it was landing in the popcorn, drying it out. So the best solution for this would just, you can mount units with threaded rod. So just take threaded rod and lower this down to the top of the window. So that was all it took, and happy as can be, it worked great. So that little note makes a huge difference in the performance of the air curtain. Here's just some other examples of installations. Top left, they did threaded rod, but then they wrapped it so it matched the entryway. Tons of different brackets. The picture in the center is actually two vertically mounted air curtains. That is an option. We always try to go overhead if possible. Sometimes it's just not an option, so we can do vertically mounted. If you are choosing this installation style, let us know at the time of design. We need to put special supports on the motor mounts. Picture on the right, you can't see it very well, but this air curtain is moved out because of the canister. Sometimes if you have to move that air curtain out too far, at the top of the door, you're going to have some infiltration. So we've actually provided PVC side baffles right here. They're clear, so you can't see them that well, but they're there. And that's going to keep that air contained so you do not have that infiltration. So if you are moving the air curtain out too far from the wall, we might want to take a look at these side baffles. If you need some help with other mounting options, on our website, there is a wide variety. You can see there's angle brackets. We can go flush to the wall. Here is some side extension plates that are on the side of the unit. I think that extends the mounting holes about 3.5 inches total. Threaded rod for the ceiling. Also, if we need to clear an obstruction, maybe a canister, we could put unistrut on top of that to clear it and then take threaded rod up from there. There's all different kinds of brackets. Another option if we want to clear a canister is just to make the air curtain wider than the opening itself. So we can clear that with threaded rod. And then also, I will not show you this video, but if you are ever looking to install these or somebody needs help installing, we do have a great step-by-step installation guide. And then down below, there's even some industrial options here as far as installing. So you can see some different options. If you think you cannot install an air curtain, I would encourage you, send us a picture of the door. Let us try and come up with some solution. I'm pretty sure we've probably seen not everything, but almost everything. Another consideration, when is heat required? If you have an entryway where customers are coming through, comfort is a key concern. I always recommend heat, especially in the Northeast region. However, if you have a dock door and you're already heating the space, sometimes it's hard to justify that cost, especially, the air curtain is going to do a great job at protecting your temperature. This was a case study we did at our factory. Again, we're about an hour north of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Outside temperature was 36.5 degrees. Inside temperature with the door closed was 67.6. This is an unheated air curtain, so it's just blowing ambient air. We opened up that door for 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, the temperature dropped less than a degree. Redid the test, turned the air curtain off. After 2 minutes, it dropped to 42.2 degrees. So, really does a great job at protecting that inside air. Other considerations: is there a negative air pressure? If there is a severe negative air pressure, people will try to oversize the air curtain. I don't care how oversized you make it, that air is going to come in through the path of least resistance, which is going to be that open doorway. So what we would recommend is maybe put a heated unit there so you can at least heat that air at the point of entry, but that air curtain is not going to stop that air from coming through. Other special aesthetic requirements, as I mentioned, different colors. This picture on the left, this is a Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C. They wanted a brass faceplate to match the entryway. So that is actual brass. Here's another chameleon powder coated to match the ceiling. Something else to take into consideration is custom heat. If you were to look at our standard units, we try to size each unit for a specific temperature rise, anywhere between 20 and 30 degrees. That being said, we can certainly do more or less kW. You might run into an instance where maybe you don't have a lot of power available, so we need to reduce the kW. You just let us know what we're working with and we can tell you what kW we can provide. On the other side of that, maybe you have a pretty severe, maybe you have a negative air pressure and that freezing cold air is coming in and you just want to blast it with as much heat as possible. We can put more kW in that unit. Also with hot water or steam coils, I cannot encourage you enough, if you are designing or looking at submittals for a hot water or steam coil unit, please pay close attention to the coil run. I know a lot of manufacturers, they stock coils, which is great. They get good pricing up front, but you're getting the coil that they have in stock. We're not willing to do that. We know some jobs, you might need a 2-row coil to meet the performance. So please just pay close attention to submittals, particularly the coil runs. All right, now tools to select the proper air curtain. I've met with a lot of engineers and they find one air curtain that they're very comfortable with, and that's just what they specify on everything. But I can assure you that the air curtain that you're putting over a drive-through window for McDonald's is going to be very different than what you need for a 30 by 30 dock door. So it is very important to select the proper air curtain. You always want to think about what's the application. Is this vestibule exception? Is it customer entrance? If it is, we're going to try and get something a little bit quieter. Is it bug control? Is it an industrial door? We have here interior building separation. The reason we differentiate with that is if you have a door separating 2 interior environments, we're really going to scale back that horsepower. Since we're not dealing with outside prevailing winds, you don't need nearly as much airflow to stop interior separation. And again, we have a selector tool, very easy to use. If you go to our website, we'll just do one for the cost savings I did a little bit earlier, that industrial application. So you would just pick your application. We're going to say it's an industrial door. Mounting height, it was a 16 by 16 door, so above 14 up to 17 foot high. Do you want heat? We'll go an unheated unit. And the width, it was 192 inches wide. So it is going to take you to our recommendations. A lot of our industrial units have multiple motors available. We typically recommend the higher motors if it's a severe climate, usually in Canada or a severe situation. Most in the US, you can get away with the lower motor. So this TSD 3192, if you were to go to view model, it is going to take you to this page where you can access pretty much anything you need. You can get a full view of what you're dealing with. This obviously is a much more industrial unit. Down here are all of the individual files. There's data tables, CSI formatted specification, installation instructions, there's Revit files. So pretty much anything you would need in terms of specifying or using that air curtain. There's different families of air curtains just to keep in mind. Pictures over here, you can see a line of industrial units. Down below, I think this is a really cool application. This was actually a food truck. And you can see right above those red doors, there's a little low profile variable speed unit up there. So we do get into commercial and architectural. We try to focus more on noise and aesthetics for those. Industrial, it's more, we're just trying to blow a lot of air at that opening because we get some pretty large openings. Max installation height for industrial units, we have a unit that can be mounted up to 50 foot high. We also get into specialty units, spark-proof construction, wash-down construction. And I wasn't going to talk, I don't usually talk about cold storage, but it has really taken off the last couple of years. So we do have special units for coolers and freezers, very different technology. I'm just going to show this to you. It gives a much better description than what I ever could. So the freezer air curtains, like I said, we offer a special unit for the cooler airs as well as freezer. Freezer, this is crazy, and I know it sounds bizarre, but we actually put a heated unit on freezers on the warm side. And what it's going to do, it helps with ice buildup, condensation, fog inside of the freezers. And again, this is a completely different presentation of its own. I just wanted to throw it out there so you knew that it's available. With our CAC and FAC, like the video said, they're going to reduce frost buildup in the freezer door opening, reduce condensation and fog, moisture and frost that forms on the high-speed fabric doors. These have very specialized sequence of controls where they're on timers, so even if that door is closed, the unit will come on to clear the door during unused hours. So again, completely different presentation. I'd be more than happy to give it another time, but it is an option that's out there. So just kind of getting some powered air advantages. Construction, our standard is stainless steel. We have moved into different options, but our standard has been stainless steel, corrosive resistant. We offer heavy duty direct drive motors for longer life. Also with our electric heaters, they are positioned in the plenum, so behind the motor, so it reduces the heat that's drawn over the motors, increasing their life. We do offer that plenum that I showed you that makes a huge difference in noise level, also the discharge uniformity. As far as capabilities, we can provide single point power connection for any of our units. A lot of other manufacturers, if you have an electrically heated unit, they might require, a 483 phase supply for the heater and then a separate 120 line for the motor. We can do everything single point power connection. Also custom control sequence. As far as service, fast lead times. Again, we're just north of Pittsburgh, so I think it's a 2-day transit time to get up there. All of our units are fully assembled and pre-wired. I know if you buy some, especially online, you order an air curtain, it comes in parts. So you get the motor plate, the casing, and then a panel that you have to wire in the field. All of our units are fully assembled and pre-wired prior to shipping. They're fully tested before shipping. And then we do have in-house designers and engineers. We love to work on unique applications. So we welcome anything unique or any custom application. We welcome you. Please feel free to contact us with that. So that is all that I have. Dean, were there any questions or comments?